Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This is our July reading wrap up, and I know it's very late. We're already several days, over a week into August, but it's been a pretty busy beginning of the month for me. I spent the last 2 weeks in July babysitting my nieces and nephews for my sister, so that was really fun, but I did not get home from my sister's house until late in the evening on on August 3rd. So there was no filming before that. And then after I got home, I spent 4 days pretty sick because, well, if you've been with me from the beginning of this channel, then you've heard that I have a medical condition, aka a chronic illness. And while I was able to kind of push myself and be active with my nieces and nephews for 2 weeks in a row, which was awesome, by the time I got home, my body was just like, guess what? You get to lie on the couch in misery for the next 4 days. Congratulations. And if you have a chronic illness, or if you know somebody with a chronic illness, you know that that's how it happens sometimes. Sometimes you overdo it and your body just sends you into recovery. It says, okay, you've gone too far. You have to give yourself time to recover now. My body does that. But I am very proud of being able to babysit my nieces and nephews for 2 weeks, because this time last year, I would not have been able to survive 2 weeks with that much chaos. I have 4 nieces and nephews, all 6 and under. Well, with my sister. I have more nieces and nephews than that. But with my sister, I have 4 nieces and nephews, all 6 and under. So they are a handful, and I love them dearly, but my body cannot always handle that much craziness. So I'm really happy. I didn't babysit them alone. I'm not at a place where I'm able to do that. The first week I was there, my mom was there as well, and so it was like a Nana-Auntie tag team. And then the second week that I was there, my brother came down to help me out, because my mom left for a trip with my father to Iceland, which they're on right now. They're having a great time, but I obviously could not do the babysitting on my own because of my health condition, so my brother drove down to spend the second week helping me out. So I did have help babysitting them for the 2 weeks. I was not in a place where I could do it on my own, but even with the help, I would not have been able to do this time last year, or even this time 6 months ago. So it really showed how much progress I've made, and that was really a huge blessing. And I just wanted to take a few moments to say, praise God for that, because I've made a lot of changes in my life. I have a treatment program with a doctor that I do for my condition, and I've changed my diet, and I've changed several parts of my lifestyle, I'm on medication, of course, but at the end of the day, the real heavy lifting of the healing, it comes from God. So the fact that I have made this progress, and the fact that I did so well these 2 weeks babysitting my nieces and nephews, I'm very happy for. So that's a really good thing in my life, even though when I got home, my body just crashed for 4 days. But anyway, that is not why you guys came to this video. You guys came to this video to talk about books. So let's talk about books. I just wanted to put that in there to say praise God, and also explain why this video was very, very late. Okay. So when I got home from my sister, I was very excited to have some book mail waiting for me. I had a discount with Baker Bookhouse, so I used it to get The Ladies of the Lake, which is on my TBR list. I haven't read it yet because, it was just in the mail when I got home from my sister's, but I am very excited to read this month. It looks so good, and it's been on my TBR, so that's really exciting. I also got these 2 lovely books from Pango Books. I had some credit on there from selling some books, so I decided to use them. This one I have read before, but it's a 5-star read, so I was like, I want a copy of these for my shelves, so I'm very excited for that. I have not read this one, and I haven't read anything by this author either, so I'm kind of excited to give this a try. It looks really interesting. It's about a mystery surrounding a Fabergé egg throughout history, and it has to do with Russia. I don't read a lot of Russian novels, so that should be interesting, especially because it's like a dual timeline, modern and history, and the historical timeline takes place during 1917, where the Romanovs were kicked out of the palace and everything. So I think it's really going to be dramatic, but I think it's going to be good. So I'm excited for that. And also, my pre-order copy of Positively Penelope arrived. This was not in the mail when I got home, but it came a few days later, which I'm really excited for. I did read a NetGalley arc of this book, and after I read the NetGalley arc, I was like, oh my goodness, 5 stars. I need a copy of this for my shelves. So I went ahead and pre-ordered it, and now that it is here, and now that we had launch day, publishing day last week, I'm going to be making a video for Positively Penelope, because I make videos, special videos for the NetGalley arcs I read, which I've only done one in the past so far, which was There's Depart by Karen Whitemeyer, but this will be the next one. I want to try to do them like around publishing time, so obviously I'm about a week late for that, but reference the first part of this video and you'll know why. Anyway, look for that in the future. Now we can talk about our July reads, and thank you for sticking with me this long. So the first book I read in July was 7 Brides for 7 Mail Order Husbands. This is a collection of short stories by Barbour Publishing. So each story is written by one of their authors, and we have Cynthia Hickey, Susan Page Davis, Suzanne Dietz, Darlene Franklin, Patty Smith Hall, Carrie Fansett Pagels, and Gina Wellborn. I don't know if I pronounced all their names right. I apologize if I didn't. So this one was... So let me just read you guys the back. It says, Turtle Springs, Kansas is a town full of women seeking husbands. 1866 dawns dark and hopeless on the small town of Turtle Springs, set in the Flint Hills of Kansas. The war between the states took most of its men and never returned them. A group of the town's single and widowed women join wits and decide they'll advertise for husbands, but they won't accept just any riffraff. The men will need to audition and be interviewed by the women. 7 of their stories are chronicled here. But the best laid plans go awry as both the curious and the serious flock to the town to witness the spectacle. How will 7 of the town's finest women make the best practical choices when their hearts cry out to be loved? I mean, this was cute. There was a lot of different stories. I think The Kidnapped Groom by Susan Page Davis was my favorite of the short stories, because it was just really cute. Like, there was a widow and she had 2 young sons, and they like hold a man by gunpoint and bring him home to marry their mother, and obviously she's like mortified, but he ends up staying to help around the house a little bit, and it was just really cute. Like, there was antics and it was cute. I think that the couple in Abigail's Proposal by Cynthia Hickey had the best chemistry, but I think that they had the best chemistry, but I think that story had an element of fake relationship and lying, and that's just not my favorite genre. So while I love their chemistry, I mean, not genre, trope. While I love their chemistry, I am not really a fake dating kind of person. Like, it just seems unnecessary to me a lot of the time. Like, I don't really like the whole lying in novels, like when like lying is a big part of the plot. Although I guess I say that with a caveat, because I like kind of like spy novels, and I like novels of resistance and war, and obviously they include lying, because, you know, when you're living in occupied France and you're working for the resistance, you have to lie, or if you're spying for your country, you have to lie. But those lies always seem for a purpose to me. And a lot of times when a book has like a fake dating relationship, or like one of the main protagonists is like lying to the other person, I don't know, a lot of times they just seem like, what is the point? Like, why? It just seems like it's just there to be dramatic. Anyway, but that's just my own opinion. It's never been my favorite trope, so that story wasn't my favorite, but I did think that couple had the best chemistry. Anyway, there are 7 different stories, so there's a little something for everyone. The next... Oh, and as far as stars, I gotta give it 4 stars. It's kind of hard to give this kind of book like stars because you kind of judge each story separately, but I think as a whole, all the stories put together, I think I'd give it like 4 stars, but I wouldn't necessarily give every story in the book 4 stars, if that makes sense. Anyway, the next book that I read in July was The Sweet Life by Suzanne Woods Fisher, and I actually listened to this one on audiobook. My family attended camp meeting this July, up in Oklahoma. So we had like a 7-hour drive there and a 7-hour drive back. So The Sweet Life is what my mom and I listened to in the car on the way. It was really, really cute. It was about this woman. Well, actually, it was about this woman and her mom. There are 2 main characters. It switches between the mom and the daughter's perspective. But the daughter, her engagement is broken at the beginning of the novel, and then the mom goes through cancer treatment at the beginning of the novel. So they're both like going through something really, really hard, and the daughter decides to invite the mom on her honeymoon with her since she has no groom anymore. And so they go to like this small town on the Massachusetts Cape for the honeymoon, and the mom ends up, while they're there, buying an ice cream shop and deciding to restore it. So then the daughter is like, well, I might as well stay and help you for the rest of the summer. And so they're both working on getting this ice cream shop going, and they're working through their own issues, with a broken engagement and with going through cancer treatment. So it was a really, really cute book, honestly. Like, there was definitely a lot of hard topics, and I kind of wish I had read it in print because, as I've said before, audio is not my first, learning language. So I feel like I probably missed a few things listening to it rather than reading it. But I still really, really liked it, and I know that there is a sequel to this novel that I'm really looking forward to reading. So that'll be fun. The next book that I read is Love's Reckoning by Laura Frantz. I'm kind of working through a lot of Laura Frantz's books because I've liked what I've read before. And I did enjoy Love's Reckoning. I will say, though... Oh, I also gave The Sweet Life 4 stars. I need to remember, I'm giving these books stars. Sorry. I am still recovering from babysitting my nieces and nephews, and brain fog is a thing with my condition. So, yeah. Yes, The Sweet Life is 4 stars. So, Love's Reckoning, I really, really enjoyed the first, 2/3 of the novel, and the last third, I just felt was completely unnecessary. If you've read it and you loved it, I'm sorry for this kind of hot take here, but just the things that happen in the last half of the novel, there are several, not last half, last third, there are several really dramatic and kind of heartbreaking things that happen to continue to keep the couple apart, and I just didn't feel like they were necessary. Yeah, I felt like, without spoiling, I felt like we could have seen the couple grow in the last third of the novel and not had these dramatic things that were heartbreaking and traumatic and just were there to keep them apart. And yeah, I just didn't feel like the last third was necessary. I didn't feel like it... I know a lot of these, heartbreaking, traumatic things are there to help the character grow, but I did not see enough character growth to really make those obstacles, plot obstacles, I'll call them, to make them worth it in the text. I just felt like it was just there to make it more heartbreaking, and I didn't appreciate it. So the first 2/3 of the novel, I was like 4.5 stars. This is really, really good. And then the last third, even though it had a happy ending, the last third of the novel, up until that happy ending, I was just like, this is pointless. There's no reason to have these traumatic, heartbreaking experiences. I'm sorry. It's not really helping the plot, I don't think. It's not making that big of a difference. We could have had these same plot developments happen in a different way that were not so traumatic. So, and I guess that's a little bit the editor and writer in me. I can be very, very critical. Sorry, it's kind of in my bones. I have a master's degree in publishing. It's what I do. It's what I love. I can be a little too critical sometimes. I know that, but I just felt like if I was the editor of this book, I'd be like, but is this really necessary? I don't think it is. So yeah, due to the last third of the novel just being like what I felt was just unnecessary drama, I had to lower it down to 3 stars. So I gave that one 3 stars. The next book I read was A Summer at Sagamore by Lisa M. Prysock, I believe. This was actually really cute. It was a very short book. Like, I read it on Kindle, and I feel like it was only like 170 pages or something like that. So very short and very quick, but very cute. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked the couple. I felt like they had really good chemistry. I really like that the third act breakup. First of all, the third act breakup is not a trope that I love, because a lot of times they're kind of pointless to have the couple break up in the third act just to come back together. Like, it's just something that people do in writing, and for me, as a writer, as an editor, I'm like, okay, but if you're going to have a third act breakup, don't have one just because it's tradition, have one because it actually means something. So with this one, they did have a little third act breakup, but it was really, really quick, and it only lasted like a day, which I was actually really thankful for, because I was like, thank you. You did not go overboard with your third act breakup, which some authors do. So I gave it 4 stars. I do wish the book had been a little bit longer, because I felt like it could have been, the story could have done well with more development. But I also don't think it was really missing anything either. Like, I was totally fine with the length of the story, and I thought it developed fine. I just thought we could have had a lot more complexity if we had drawn it out and developed it more. But with what it was actually developed pretty well for the length. You know, sometimes when you have a book that short, you rush things, and I don't really feel like this was rushed at all. So I felt like that was really good. So 4 stars for that one. So the last 2 books that I read were actually while I was at my sister's. So obviously babysitting 4 kids, 6 and under, I was really, really busy. So the next book I read was Until Leaves Fall in Paris by Sarah Sundin, which this is actually my book. It's one of my favorites, and I have read it before, but that's kind of the reason I took it to my sister's to read, was because having read it before, my brain doesn't necessarily get as deep and as involved during rereads. So it was something that was really easy to read while I was babysitting, because I could, read a paragraph and then I'll have to go get up and take care of something, or they're watching Winnie the Pooh and I'm reading, but I'm also half listening to what they're doing and keeping an eye on things, versus if I was reading like another book that I hadn't read before, I might have the tendency to really dive in and to kind of shut my other senses off, sometimes when you get into a really, really good book and you kind of forget what's going on around you, that's not something you can do while you're babysitting your nieces and nephews. So that was a really good choice for me to read, because having read it before, I was able to keep my other senses open and pay attention to what was going on around me. But it is one of my favorites, and I will say, even on a reread, it was 5 stars and beyond. If there was over 5 stars, I'd give it over 5 stars. I love that book. Okay. The next book I read, and this is the last book that I completed, is Sold on Love by Kathleen Fuller, which is the final book in the Kathleen Fuller series I have been reading. And this is another one I read at my sister's, which I haven't read it before, but it's a very, very light book. So sometimes when the content is light, it's not the kind of book you really delve into either. So it was another good option for me to read, being able to keep my senses open and keeping one eye on the page and one eye watching my nieces and nephews and one ear and everything. Plus, I mainly read this one during nap time, and it was so quick, like it was such an easy read, that I read it during like 2 nap times and it was over. So that was really nice. It was really cute. I gave it 3.5 stars. Just, yeah, really cute. I really liked the couple. I thought they were very cute together, and although they had misunderstandings that went on, and there were times that I was like, y'all just talk to each other, like, for real. Y'all need to stop making assumptions. It wasn't too bad on the whole miscommunication trope, I thought, which was good. So I kind of sort of had 2 DNFs this month. Although I wouldn't really call them DNFs because I didn't purposely DNF them. It was just because I was at my sister's. So the first one is Love's Awakening by Laura Frantz, which is the next book in the Valentine Legacy. I had it digitally checked out from the library, and I read about 50% of it before I went to my sister's, and then I was really busy babysitting the kids at my sister's. And that being a Laura Frantz book, you know, if you've read Laura Frantz, that she is a very kind of emotional author, so when you're reading her book, you really have to be able to get into it. And obviously, since I was watching my nieces and nephews, I could not commit all the emotional and mental energy to reading it. So then, like, I couldn't commit, like, to really diving into it, so I wasn't able to finish it while I was there, and it got returned to the library. I am going to check it out again and read it this month, but I guess it's kind of sort of a DNF because it got returned before it's done. The next one is In the Shadow of the River by Anne H. Gabhart. And this is a new release. And like, when it was coming out, I went ahead and I got on the hold list for my library. And I was the very first person on the hold list. I was so excited. But unfortunately, the book spent a lot of time, like, in the library's office, you know, getting checked in and put on the shelves and everything. So even though I had it on my hold list for, like, probably 3 weeks maybe, I did not actually get it until the day before I left for my sister's house. So, like Love's Awakening, this was not a book that I was able to complete while I was at my sister's house. I think I read a page and a half while my youngest niece was napping, and then she woke up and demanded attention. So, yeah. I was not able to commit to getting into it because I was babysitting, and then when I got back from my sister's house, it was due at the library, and I was unable to renew it because there was other people who have gotten on the hold list. I definitely do want to read it. I want to get it back from the library. Probably it won't be until September or even October because I don't know how many people are on the hold list, but I do know that at the end of this month, like the last week in August, pushing over into the first week of September, I'm going to be in Orlando, so I don't want to risk getting on the hold list now and then having it, like, come available while I'm gone, because that would just stink. So I'm going to wait till I get back, and then I'm going to get on the hold list, and we'll see when I get it. We'll see. But I will tell you that the first page and a half were really good. Okay, so thank you for sticking with me in this video. I hope everything is great with you guys. If you have read any of these books or want to read any of these books, let me know in the comments. And if you like what you hear here, subscribe so we can talk more. Be looking in the next few days for a video on Positively Penelope. I'm really excited to talk about it. And I will see you guys soon. Okay, bye.